Now considering listing a planned spin-off company in London. BHP announced earlier this year it would place some of its coal and other assets in a new company worth about $16 billion. The original idea was to headquarter the company in Perth with a listing in Australia, a secondary listing in South Africa. It says that UK shareholders are now calling for a London listing and it's assessing the potential of that. BHP is acting in line with the trend of some of the miners to restructure and separate out some of their assets. There has been a concern that some are trying to protect their core assets from riskier assets in South Africa that has, of course, been dealing with electricity shortages and labour strife. Well, it's Heritage Day and Shifty Records is celebrating what it calls seditious sounds in a tribute to our musical heritage. Shifty Records was an anti-apartheid label before South Africa became a democracy. As it celebrates its 30th birthday this month, it's rustled up some of South Africa's musical legends to perform in Newtown near Joburg. Well, let's cross now to my colleague Thabile Ngwato, who is with the co-founder of Shifty Records, Lloyd Ross. Thabile, firstly, what's happening in Newtown?
Thanks, Francis. It's been such a spectacular day. We're here at the Shifty Records 30th celebrations. We've seen a lot of performances from legendary musicians like Tony Cox, Vusi Mahlasela, Louis Mhlanga, as well as Jennifer Ferguson. Now, joining me to speak a little bit about the business of music, we've got Shifty Records CEO Lloyd Ross. Welcome, Lloyd.
Thank you very much.
Now, Lloyd, can you just take us through your journey as Shifty Records? Some people refer to you as an anti-apartheid record company, and you've also been associated with heritage music. How's the market looking like for heritage music at this point in time?
Well, that's an ambush question, I'm afraid. I started Shifty because there was a need for a record company that was filling the gap that the industry was leaving, which is a very large gap. At that stage, the industry wouldn't record anything that had social or political comment lyrics. So that's where we stepped in. And for many, many years, we were the only company that was pretty much doing that. In terms of market for heritage music, well, I don't know. Has there ever been a market for heritage music? I'm really not sure.
Now, it's actually interesting that you mentioned that today is Heritage Day. Some people refer to it as National Bride Day. How are you as Shifty Records trying to, bring back heritage music into the South African market?
Well, I think it's quite interesting that, for instance, this whole effort here was actually sparked by the French director of the Alliance Française coming to me and saying he'd like to celebrate 20 years of democracy by focusing on Shifty Records. It took a foreigner to do that. So that's what. Then I suddenly thought, well, that's a great idea. And I started inviting people who'd gone all over the world to come back for this particular concert here. And preceding this, we had a month of events at the Alliance Française, which was really, really brilliant. So we've managed to have a great party, celebrate our heritage, fantastic composers of political songs. Yes, in that time, that's what it was. They were basically writing songs about what they were seeing around them. What they were seeing around them was a bad situation.
Now, just finally, Lloyd, the reality is the world has become digital, and any business, the whole point of having a business is the bottom line, making money. What avenues are you using to distribute your music?
Well, that's an interesting question again. Making money was never really one of our good points. We never really made much money. We were doing it because we loved the music. We thought that the musicians that we recorded, very, very talented songwriters, very talented singers, without much opportunity to further their careers. So we tried to fill that gap a bit, but it's very, very difficult. I think if you're not in the mainstream, wherever you are in the world, particularly in a small pond like South Africa, it's very difficult to make a living. And if you're running a record company that's recording that, it's even more difficult.
Thank you so much for your time, and from all of us here at the Business Review, it's happy 30th birthday.
Thank you.
There you have it, Francis. We're celebrating Heritage Day in style with South Africans in a very musical way. Back to you.
Well, I'm sitting here in this studio, but we do have something interesting for you. A few years